still standing at the corner of the Duke of Gloucester Street and the Palace Green in Williamsburg for over 2 centuries, is one of the area's original structures dating back to colonial times. The home and place of business of a well-known family of tradespeople living and working in the heart of the city during the 18th century. And as I would soon find out, their legacy still lives on. And probably just like the days of old, a horse and carriage waited outside the residence. It was the perfect moment to make a quick acquaintance before carrying off eager travelers throughout the bustling city. The placard outside the Geddy estate skimmed the surface of the family's fascinating history, and the streets were full of curious people, some happily taking a revolutionary ride, with Williamsburg's finest steeds and skilled coachmen leading the way. In the distance, the approaching stride of Marquis de Lafayette on horseback came into focus as he galloped nearby the Geddy House on his extended victory tour. The stage had been set centuries before our arrival, and we were ready to learn more about the family that once lived and worked here. Running parallel to the Palace Green, the 2-story L-shaped James Geddy house that I walked past is an original part of the home thought to have been built by James Geddy Jr. in 1762. Entering through the lot's rear gate, visitors can see where James Geddy Sr. and his 2 oldest sons once worked.
This is the foundry, so making metal items by casting. So we melt metal down to a liquid and pour that liquid into a mold. The whole family had a few different trades going on. The one we're standing in here, this was the gunsmith, it was the founder and the cutler, so 3 in 1.
The tools used to craft and file pewter, silver, iron, bronze, and brass creations were lying everywhere.
The tip of the iceberg here, really, just to give folks an idea on some of the shapes that are easier to make by casting metal than it is by hammering it or smithing it.
And although we weren't able to witness melted metals being poured into molds, the apprentice on site broke down the process.
All you do is pull the handle and force the air that runs through a pipe all the way down the brickwork and then under our forge here. That's where we melt the metal down, yeah.
Like right over the open fire? Or?
Yeah, it's a pit here. It goes down nearly to the floor. We'll fill it up with charcoal, put the metal in a crucible, put the crucible inside the forge, so just the lid is sticking out above the level of the fuel, and then we don't stop pumping until that metal is ready to pour.
Is this something that you pour to make that, or is that like...
Yeah, there were 13 different molds for one of those. Wow. That does take us a good 120 hours.
Because everything you do now is the way they did then.
Exactly. What we cast last Saturday, it's the Colonial Williamsburg seal.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Like all trades in Colonial Williamsburg, becoming a journeyman founder doesn't happen overnight.
It's a 5-level system now, and this shop has 5 skills to learn per level before you progress through all 5.
And then when you hit the pinnacle,
Yeah, I'm a journeyman.
you're a journeyman. Okay. Beneath the ground I walked over during early archaeological excavations, a significant amount of metallic waste and debris associated with a gunsmithing and brass founding operation was unearthed. The art museums in Colonial Williamsburg showcase a fragment of a saucer that was excavated at the Geddy lot. A large 1740 saucer from Jingdezhen, China, reveals what it might have looked like intact. Yet very little remnants from the silversmithing trade that took place on the Geddy property was found. But some fascinating discoveries were finally made. One finding, a teaspoon, reveals the maker's mark of James Geddy II engraved on the utensil, and the reverse side of it bearing the initials of the couple that once owned it. The recovery of this spoon validated another teaspoon pulled during a 1930 excavation at the governor's palace that bore the same maker's mark engraved on it, confirming it forged by Geddy himself. After exploring the foundry in the back lot area, it was time to head inside the home of James Geddy Jr. He purchased the lot from his mother in 1760 and built the house 2 years later to launch his business as a silversmith and jeweler. Upon entering, the first room you come to is the dining room, a place for hosting dinners, family time, and an area where the children of the house could learn from. In the first floor passageway, a U-shaped staircase that led to the second floor wasn't open to the public, but some diagrams I found online made it seem quite similar to the first floor layout. Inside the parlor was the area of the home where more formal entertainment took place. The room's south-facing window gave a clear view of the Duke of Gloucester, and beside the room's original closet, the parlor's west window faced the palace green.
This is Geddy's bedroom.
This is his bedroom.
Yes, it is. That's his shop right there. So how unusual to have your bedroom right next to the place of work. And if you've got silver stored in your shop, you want to be able to keep an ear out to find out if anybody's breaking in. Right. So this is a very smart thing that he's doing. Geddy's had 5 children. They all slept upstairs. There was a mother-in-law. We don't know where she slept. This is a very fine and fancy 18th century bed that most people would not have been able to afford. Most people would have been sleeping on a straw mattress, if you're lucky, on top of a bed frame. So that's not very comfortable. Instead of having something like a box spring, you've got rope underneath, and that's holding the bed frame together. There's a leather hide. Then we have a feather bed, and then this mattress on top is very firm and dense, and is filled with horsehair. So this keeps you up on top rather than sinking down into a mattress, and the air can circulate. And then in the winter, we would switch these so that the feather bed is on top, and you've got the nice firm structure of the horsehair. You can sink down into this if you need. So you've got examples of some of the toiletries that they would use. These are for cologne. This is for shaving or washing your face. Natural sponge. This is a pitcher for water, so you can have another bowl and wash your face.
The double-hung, hand-blown bullseye glass windows in the Geddy's bedchamber and throughout roughly 90% of the house are original, as are a lot of the architectural components, including the pine floors.
Floorboards are original except for where it's been patched.
So the exact floors.
Yes, as a matter of fact, look over
So
there.
these are the floors that he walked on.
Yes.
And as the interpreter had mentioned, the room next door to the bedroom was Geddy's Silversmith Shop. Looking through its rectangular bay-style windows, I imagined a flourishing Williamsburg at the height of Geddy's business operations here. Up on the roof of the shop, the ladder up there I always thought was a nice touch, although through the years I didn't understand its significance. Apparently, something commonly seen in colonial times, as a French traveler once wrote in 1781, upon nearly all the roofs are to be seen fire ladders, a credible safety measure back then for handling roof fires ignited by chimney sparks. Back inside his shop, there were 2 walnut hanging cabinets fashioned using colonial era techniques. Behind each glass pane, there was amazing silverwork, inspired by what might have been 18th century Geddy craftsmanship. Natural wood shelving, jeweler's benches, and other fixtures were reproduced for the room to bring the first floor of Geddy's Silversmith Shop back to life. The far east end of the building was reconstructed on top of its original foundations. Archaeological evidence and historical records revealed it was probably once a separate extension of the shop. In the 1770s, a man named William Waddell was renting the room from Geddy for his work as an engraver and goldsmith. And although it was done more so in larger cities like Boston, Philadelphia, and New York, the apprentice we spoke with explained the steps of how copper printing plates were made.
So everything starts with a drawing, right? And in terms of printing plates, often somebody else is bringing us the artwork, right? But what we have to do is translate that onto the copper. And at the very least, we have to reverse the image, because anything we cut with the copper is producing a mirror image. So we'll paint the metal with a little bit of white watercolor. We'll take the drawing first on paper, put the original to the window, and either trace it onto the backside or onto a new piece of paper so that it's reversed. And then we'll carve and transfer it onto that white watercolor. It's all hand carved with those. Right?
Wow.
So that sits in the palm of the hand. You're following your pencil line and just carving out a little bit of that.
The East Shop shelves were full of polishing compounds, finished works, and all of the essential paraphernalia necessary for running business. The glass display case in the room showcased remarkable modern-day made items crafted by silversmiths. Suddenly, I'd become enlightened, realizing things like names, initials, family crests, and other object-based designs seen on various metalwares were the creative workings of a skilled engraver.
Most of the images that are being printed, especially these here, these are all book illustrations. Some of them are going to be art prints that somebody just frames and hangs on their wall. Paper money is being printed this way in maps. Certain fabrics, like the kerchief that's actually here at the window and in the corner, that would have been one big copper plate.
Above the kerchief, a reproduction of the silver plate made for Lord Botetourt's coffin hung inside the shop's corner shelf. Looking at it made me wonder how long it took to engrave all the copper plates found in the room.
Most of these are less than a day's worth of work, with the exception of the two on the ends, right? These all come in around 5 to 8 hours or so. Most of mine is kind of earlier images. Of course, we work at Colonial Williamsburg, so everything we have to do would have been available in the 18th century. Most of these are 17th century, 1600s, so they're a little bit earlier in time frame, but definitely still popular during this period.
And like any trade, there are sometimes scenarios where mistakes have been made that need to be corrected. The knowledgeable apprentice explained how this situation might be handled.
If we have to remove an engraving for any reason, right? It's a mistake we made. You purchase something secondhand that's already engraved. You order something engraved and you change your mind. They have all sorts of reasons. There's no filling the metal back in. You actually have to remove the engraving that's there by taking out the rest of the metal around it. So I've filed and I've stoned this. I've done a little bit of burnishing to try and smooth everything out. So I'll give this a really good polish and hopefully it'll look just like this one. Wow.
On our way back through to exit the home, we took a quick glance inside the east side of the building's northern room as we headed out. We crossed back through Geddy's restored silver shop, took another look at the hearth and vanity found inside the bedchamber, one final peek in the parlor before passing through the passageway again and by the large dining room. A fascinating look inside the Geddy House and Foundry. It sparked a keen interest to learn more.